Thanks, Sophie. Coming up on tonight's South Today. 6-year-old Cohen relies on machines to keep him alive. Now his family fears the impact of rising energy bills.
The cost of living crisis, for most people it's, oh, we just won't go on holiday this year. But for us, it's our son's life.
Also tonight, youngsters with mental health needs are often treated far from home. Families hope a new unit in Dorset could be the answer.
To have your daughter so many miles away, crying on the phone, "Mum, I need you," it was soul-destroying.
It's Children in Need Week, how your generosity is helping children with Tourette syndrome. And a former paratrooper who set off on a 5.5-year solo walk and ended up with so much more. Hello, welcome to South Today. I'm Sally Taylor. Now, many of us are trying to use less electricity and delay turning the heating on. But for some people, it's just not that simple. 6-year-old Cohen has 2 rare health conditions, which mean that he relies on machines to keep him alive. But now rising bills could cost his mum around £3,000 a year, double what she was paying before. Jim O'Reilly went to meet them at their home in Basingstoke.
Helicopter, minibus.
Yeah, it's a helicopter. The cost of living crisis, for most people it's, oh, we just won't go on holiday this year. But for us, it's our son's life.
Cohen has DeGeorge syndrome and 15q11.2 genetic deletions. They prevent him from walking, talking and digesting food. He's thought to be the only child in the world to have both conditions.
He requires to be tube fed for 18 hours a day. We use a stair lift for him to get him upstairs because he's over 20 kg now. He has hoists in the bathroom and his bedroom. The machines that we use for Cohen keep him alive. All the machines that we use cost us more money in electric because they are things that we need to use.
Over the last few months, Lauren's energy bills have nearly doubled, going from £140 a month to £270. She expects them to go up to more than £3,000 a year.
It makes me very nervous and what things we're going to have to miss out on to be able to afford to just live.
Scope, the disability charity, says disabled people are cutting back on medicines and assistive technology due to rising costs.
I'm classed as a low-pay carer and we would earn technically about £1.22 I think an hour, which is nothing.
In September, the government introduced a one-off £150 payment for those in receipt of disability benefits.
£150 for disabled families won't even cover my electric and gas bill, not even half of it.
In a statement, the Department for Work and Pensions said,
"We know that living with a long-term illness or disability can impact on living costs, which is why we are supporting 6 million disabled people with an extra £150 payment to help with rising prices. This is part of the £37 billion package of support, which will see 8 million low-income households receiving at least £1,200 in support this year."
You're so cheeky. I want Cohen to be able to achieve whatever he can achieve in life, but the cost of living crisis needs to change and things need to change for him to be able to do that.
Gem O'Reilly, BBC South Today, Basingstoke.
Let's chat to our political editor, Peter Henley, who's here with me. So 2 days away from Chancellor's autumn statement. I mean, what are families like Cohen's going to be hoping to hear?
Well, the charity Scope hopes that the £150 amount will be doubled. They say, well, look, the government's already saying it costs more to live life if you're disabled. So let's have a realistic amount. But as you saw, there are also 6 million people are getting it now. And also Scope point out that a quarter of people who are disabled are on prepayment meters because their income is low. So their electricity could be cut off very suddenly. And they've got lots of devices like we saw in that film there. Of course, the Chancellor's hearing the same sort of plea from all sorts of people, not least the councils who have to support people. Hampshire Council supports them in Basingstoke.
Yeah, and it's about the right money going to the right people, isn't it?
Yeah, and without
this targeting idea.
Getting it to the right people, but without bureaucracy swallowing it up. And we saw lots of flat payments made during COVID, didn't we? It's like the winter fuel allowance, though, isn't it, for pensioners? Not everybody needs it. But working out exactly who's had what increase in what bill, it costs a lot of money in itself. So the Chancellor prefers these flat payments. I think he'll probably go for the 10% increase in disability, the 10% increase in benefits, probably the 10% increase in pensions. But how he's going to pay for it all, that's a different question entirely. Pay for it without harming the economy, which in the end pays for everything.
Peter, thanks very much. Well, there's more information, support and advice online at the BBC's Cost of Living webpage. And we will be looking at the impact rising costs are having in a Saturday special tomorrow evening at 6:30. So be with us for that. Now, there's 250 miles between Bournemouth and Manchester. Now, that's quite a distance to travel to visit your teenage child in hospital. But that can be the reality for the families of youngsters who require psychiatric intensive care because there's nowhere for them to be treated in Dorset. So, could plans for an 8-bed inpatient unit locally be the answer? Edward Salt reports.
When I was a teenager, I was struggling with an eating disorder and self-harm. I know that my school were quite concerned about my suicidal thoughts.
Chloe was treated in a psychiatric intensive care unit. But that wasn't in Dorset, but in Colchester in Essex.
I just felt isolated and like I was on my own because I had no one around me.
I couldn't give her all the support that she needed. To have your daughter so many miles away, crying on the phone, "Mum, I need you, I need to see you, when are you coming to see me, I need to go out." It was soul destroying.
Now there are plans to knock this and another building down to make way for this, meaning young people like Chloe can be treated closer to home.
We are hoping to build an 8-bedded psychiatric intensive care unit for children and young people. At the moment, if young people have this kind of condition, they're having to go miles and miles out of area, as far away as Manchester, but on average it's about 91 miles away that they'd be accessing this inpatient care. So for us it will mean that actually people can get the care locally where they need it, close to family and friends.
And Naomi knows how important that is. She was admitted under the Children's and Adolescent Mental Health Service in Dorset, but fortunately her treatment meant she didn't need to travel away.
I felt really, really lucky because it was so close to home. It was only half an hour away for my family to drive to come and see me. My friends could come and see me, and it meant that I was able to remember my reasons to keep fighting and who I was keeping going for.
These proposals will now go before BCP Council for a second time. If given the green light, this unit could be fully up and running by autumn 2025. Edward Salt, BBC South Today in Bournemouth.
Now, relatives of 3 soldiers killed in conflicts dating from the Korean War to the Falklands conflict have seen their loved ones honoured today. The men's families were presented with the Elizabeth Cross in Aldershot. It was established by the late Queen to pay tribute to those killed on operations or as a result of terrorism. Joe Campbell was at the ceremony.
November is a month of remembrance. For relatives of those who never came home, it's a daily affair. Major Edwin Andrews served throughout the war, only to die in 1958 in Cyprus as a result of a terrorist attack.
The last time that he came on leave, he gave me his army clasp knife, which I much cherished. And he went, the knife stayed, and I still have the knife and I still take it when I go fishing. And it's those sort of little things that one remembers.
Honoured alongside him today, Corporal Andrew McIlvenny, who was killed on RFA Sir Galahad in the Falklands. His body was never recovered.
He was due to come out of the army when the Falklands started. I can't believe that it's 40 years, and here we are.
Like the Falklands, Few had heard of where Peter Davis was called to serve.
When it came through that he'd got papers for Korea, no one even knew where it was. His name is on the roll of honour at my old school. There were 2 boys from the school killed in Korea. So when I was at that school, every Remembrance Day, his name would be read out, and his name was always there as I walked past to classes.
There's no shortage of memorials to the great and the good in places like this. But the ceremony here today recognised those who, while not famous, paid the ultimate sacrifice in the service of their country. Joe Campbell, BBC South Today, Aldershot.
A chain ferry that runs from Sandbanks in Poole to Studland has been badly damaged on its way to Cornwall for a refit. It happened while being towed to Falmouth. It will not now return to service until the new year. The ferry operator says it has begun legal proceedings against the tug company. Coming up, Alexis has the forecast for the rest of the week, and Lewis will be here for a remarkable sports story.
Yes, we'll be meeting this man who calls himself the world's strongest barber and finding out about his journey from prison to the podium.
Tourette's syndrome is a condition which causes involuntary movements and sounds called tics. Children who have it can find it difficult to take part in ordinary activities. Hampshire-based charity Tourette's Action receives BBC Children in Need funding to run weekend events where they can relax and be themselves. In the run-up to Children in Need on Friday, we join youngsters for the day.
Child labour! We're in the New Forest. We bring a whole group of young people together. We've got activities from 9 in the morning till late at night. But the common factor for all of them is that they've all got Tourette's syndrome.
Lovely. What was your name?
Toby.
Toby.
It's like a condition where you say stuff and make noises. So like sometimes you'd swear. Not all people swear. Sometimes people just make facial movements.
He's gonna kill himself! Toby's Tourette's came on very suddenly. Unfortunately for him, he's in the 10% of people with Tourette's that actually swear.
People sometimes might get offended by the stuff that you say. And that's like just the way of it, you know? Head, shoulders. Tics can be really painful. They can be socially debilitating. You know, a lot of our kids might not swear, but they might have screaming tics, for example. So they can't go to the cinema, they can't go to the theatre. Events like this are where they can be themselves, totally themselves.
You smashed the ball and stabbed him!
I felt so comfortable from the minute I walked in. I felt like I'd fit in for a change rather than stood out. And as good as it is to stand out, it felt really, really good to actually fit in. And then I got in contact with Emma and said, look, I'd love to be able to come and help out.
When my tics would be a nuisance if they were to appear is when they get worse.
Our brains are completely different. We've got completely different brains, and I'm just constantly ticking and constantly tired and doing stuff. Even some people can't even see what tics I'm doing, so it might be internal or mental or eye tics or something.
Spending a whole weekend with complete strangers at the beginning and then becoming such close friends is actually so nice.
And it's definitely making me feel like more confident about it.
For many of these kids, it's the first time they've ever done this. They don't do school trips. Without Children in Need, none of it would be possible. We need Children in Need to do this and do more.
Totally worth it. He will have made lots of new friends. Generally, he doesn't like talking about his Tourette's, but when he's been on one of these weekends, it boosts him up.
It just makes me feel like I'm like a part of like a family, and they can sort of like help me through when I have rough times.
Don't forget, Children in Need is this Friday. You can see there, your donations always make a difference. Thank you. Now, were you a teenager in the 1980s? If so, you probably had a few pin-ups on your bedroom wall, didn't you? And they might have included the young actor Michael Praed. Remember him? He was star of the popular TV show at the time, Robin of Sherwood. He then went on to star in the American soap Dynasty. Fast forward 35 years and Michael is appearing in an adaptation of the Victorian ghost story Darker Shores. Sam Fraser caught up with him.
It was primetime viewing in the 80s, The Legend of Robin Hood reimagined. The drama brought overnight stardom for its lead, a handsome young actor called Michael Praed.
It's just a fact. Robin Hood was the thing that put me firmly and squarely on, for a little while, on that map. And I'm really proud of that show. And the actors are a small part of it. You know, you look at the real unsung heroes, which are the writers. Richard Carpenter was the top of the tree in that series. And also things that go unnoticed, like the lighting, the sound, the music. You know, would Robin Hood have been quite as evocative without Clannad? I don't think so, looking back. There's nothing quite like a bit of discreet adoration. And all the fringe benefits you get from being known are fabulous. You get to turn left on an aeroplane, best seat in the house, waiter, you know, have them sit here. I loved all that. But I didn't get to experience too much of it because then I went to America. Haunting.
Returning to the stage, the 62-year-old has teamed up with Sussex-based writer Michael Punter to star in his play Darker Shores, set on the south coast.
I moved to the Sussex coast and I've worked across Sussex for the last 15 years. And the more I've lived down here, it's more become part of my work. And I think there's just a beautiful sense of history.
Consolation, Professor Mann.
Michael Praed is Dr. Thomas Beauregard, an American spiritualist engaged to get to the bottom of some ghostly goings-on.
What word? Haunting.
Juliet Mills, daughter of Sir John Mills, plays the housekeeper, a character with many secrets.
Were the master ever to return?
He will never return. You know, it's one of those sort of Mrs. Danvers characters, and Rebecca kind of, you know, she's very enigmatic. You don't really know. And actually, I can tell I'm going slightly into the North Country because she is North Country.
The cast also includes Juliet's husband, Maxwell Caulfield, but it's not the first time they've all worked together.
We're all alumni of Dynasty. Even you did Dynasty, didn't you?
Yeah.
There may be illusion in this.
You can hear the wind and the sea, it's elemental. And you're trying to just bring everyone round the fireside to get together and enjoy a ghost story. Because I think ghost stories appeal mostly to the senses. And so I think activating them at this time of year is very special.
Darker Shores plays at the Yvonne Arnaud Theatre in Guildford until the 19th of November.
There we are, on until the 19th. So, Dynasty? I always called it Dynasty, didn't you?
Dynasty, potato.
Yeah. Hey, let's just be different. We're on to sport. Lewis is here. You've met a remarkable man who's, well, he's really turned his life around, hasn't he?
Yeah, fascinating chat today. You know, when you meet people and you think, well, fascinating background, certainly made mistakes in his life. And it's really how he's using sport to re-find his identity, rebuild his life, and actually inspire others, learning from his own mistakes. So it's an absolutely fascinating chat. He's the self-proclaimed world's strongest barber. And for Lewis Packham from Southampton, cutting hair as a day job and training for England's Strongest Man competition has played a crucial role in turning his life around. Sentenced to over a decade in jail for a violent attack as a teenager, Lewis is now aiming to use his sport and experiences to guide others away from choosing the wrong path.
So this is my escape, and Strongman's my escape from this. You think it's so rough and like ready, and then this is so delicate. Well, hopefully I'm delicate. It was a skill I picked up very early on in prison, and I took it from there, and it just manifested, you know, over the years, and now I'm a successful barber. We'll get Nath to fix it if it goes wrong. Everyone's got a story to tell, and when they're sat in my chair, it's amazing how people open up.
Lewis has quite the story of his own. Aged 17, he was sentenced to 13 years in prison for GBH and ABH. Having served his time, sport is now helping him rebuild his life.
How many people get to be introduced to the world twice? I feel like I've been reborn, and the journey that I'm on now is one that I was always destined to be on. I had this natural strength and ability in all sports, particularly powerlifting and strength, which I'd gained while I was away. I was always winning competitions while I was in prison. I'm now 29 years old. I have a purpose, I have a belief.
Do you recognise yourself when you look back at that 17-year-old?
No, unrecognisable. They say that a moment can change your life forever, and it literally was a moment, and it transformed my whole life. I think that's a powerful thing, and I'm trying to have that moment in the positive way. Standing on the podium or one log press or one deadlift will change my life.
Lewis finished third in this year's England's Strongest Man competition and competes again in May.
The beliefs there from standing on the podium, being in front of the cameras and the crowd, it's now starting from dream to reality. So I believe I can go all the way and be the strongest man in Britain in the next 3 to 5 years.
That seeking of redemption or forgiveness, is that what drives you as well?
You've got to remember, when I went away for that long, I was completely written off. No one thought I was coming back. No one thought I was going to do anything. I'm not trying to be normal. I'm trying to stand out as much as possible, and I'm trying to succeed, and I'm trying to leave my legacy for, you know, my son, my family, people that know me now. That's what I'm leaving it for.
Lewis now visits local schools to warn others of the pitfalls of following the wrong path.
So me going in and talking about my experiences can hopefully change some mindsets. It might not reach them all, but I know it will definitely reach a couple of them, and that's all that counts.
Yeah, Lewis Packham there, the world's strongest barber. Now on to football. National League Southside Weymouth will look to cause a big upset in the FA Cup tonight. They go to League 2 AFC Wimbledon for their first round replay after drawing 1-1 at home. The winners will host Chesterfield in the second round. BBC Radio Solent has your commentary. Bournemouth boxer Chris Billam-Smith will once again defend his European Cruiserweight title in his hometown with a fight against Kosovan Armand Hohaj, announced at the Bournemouth International Centre for December 17th. Fellow Dorset boxer Lee Cutler is also on the undercard. And on to cricket. Pakistan fast bowler Mohammad Abbas has signed a new 2-year contract with Hampshire. The 32-year-old took 50 wickets last season as Hampshire finished third in Division 1. Yeah, it's a good signing that for Hampshire. Just going back to Lewis there, it was really interesting. We asked to sit on one of those sandbags that he quickly took on his shoulder. Couldn't move it, 120 kilos. We're like, got any light chairs? It'd be a lot easier. He just rolled it easily.
Yeah,
exactly. Good guy, good guy.
Yeah, handy man to have around the house. Right,
indeed.
Okay, this is a long walk, all right, because pilgrimages were the height of popularity in the Middle Ages. Yet the physical and spiritual appeal of walking a long distance or embarking on an outdoor adventure still endures today.
And when former paratrooper Chris Lewis decided to walk the entire coastline of the UK back in 2017, he set off all on his own. And as John Cuthill discovered, it's been quite the journey.
I just knew that I needed to make a change. Life really wasn't good for me, so I made a real spur-of-the-moment decision, an epiphany, if you like, just to go and walk the UK coast. So a couple of days of getting some gear together, and that was me. I'm off, and 5 and a bit years later, here we are in Studland Bay.
You know, I was the same as everybody else. I had a home, I had things, and I made that decision to strip that all away from my life and just take a chance. It was a huge gamble.
I made a promise to myself when I left that I was going to be a changed man when I got back. Well, I say changed, you know, back to my normal self, and you know, I needed to cross that finish line. I need to cross the finish line.
The first way to solve a problem is to realise that you have one, and opening up about it is just incredibly important. Don't get me wrong, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. You know, I froze, been very, very wet a lot. I'd rather face those physical challenges than the mental challenges, if you like, and both together, they've worked for me.
I started on my own, and then obviously meeting Jet first. You know, having that company just meant everything to me. She's been pivotal in you know, helping me. I just finished Shetlands, and it was my time to return back to mainland Scotland, and literally a couple of weeks into it, this beautiful woman walks down the cliffs where I was camped.
You know, he's there with his kilt and his wetsuit boots and his bandana on his head, but we immediately sort of hit it off, although it was a really quick conversation. 3 minutes, I left, and then 40 minutes later I just decided to do a U-turn. You know, the rest is history. About a year after I started walking, we got pregnant with Magnus, obviously.
What do you reckon, mate? Is it going to rain today? Waterproofs?
I had absolute faith that we could do this with Magnus, but I also thought there was an anxiety, if you like. Is this the right thing? How is he going to take to it? But he has taken to it like a duck to water. I mean, he is just so happy, so healthy. He loves nature. So observant and curious, and doing this alongside your child, when you watch their sense of awe and discovery and curiosity grow at the world around them, I think that's just a magical thing.
We've raised well over $250,000 now for the charity SAFA, and we're hoping to get half by the time we finish. So that's the aim. And I think we'll be finishing in about the next 5 months. So in total, that'd be 5.5 years of walking.
One day, one step at a time.
Started off, you know, and suddenly he's got a whole family. How lovely. What a great story that is. Right
Yes.
place, right time. Talking of walking, oh, so wet this morning.
Oh, dear.
It was bucketing down. Waterproof, so they couldn't even stand it. I mean, it was horrendous.
And we've got another weather warning coming tomorrow.
Oh, no.
Tomorrow evening, tomorrow night. Let's take a look at your weather pictures. Tracy Hayden captured a rainbow from Bloxworth in Dorset.
Fiona Hardy photographed flooding in Brockenhurst.
And Deb Heath sent us this shot of a blue tit in the sunshine in Overton.
We had a little bit of sunshine today, as you saw in that picture, but we also had some showers, and this rainbow was photographed today in Weymouth in Dorset by one of our weather watchers. Further showers are possible tomorrow, interspersed by some bright and sunny spells, but then rain and strong winds later, and a weather warning, which I'll talk about in just a second. So we are expecting some heavy showers tonight. There could be the odd rumble of thunder. There will be a few clear spells here and there, and it will turn cooler than recent nights, with temperatures for northern areas dropping to a low of 5 or 6 Celsius, and the breeze will start to increase as we head towards dawn. So tomorrow is going to be quite a blustery day, the winds strengthening during the course of the day, some heavy showers merging together to form longer spells of rain for a time, even the odd rumble of thunder. And as I said, the winds will start to increase. We'll have a drier spell of weather during the middle part of the day, with further rain arriving as we head towards the evening. And that's the rain where the warning is enforced tomorrow evening and overnight tomorrow night. Highs tomorrow of around 11 to 13 degrees. So for the coastal forecast tomorrow, between Selseybill and Lyme Regis, the winds are pretty strong. They are west or southwest, becoming cyclonic for a time, 6 to gale 8. And the sea state is moderate or rough, occasionally very rough. So tomorrow night is when we'll see that really heavy band of rain. The Met Office have issued a rain warning for eastern parts of the region. Here we could see some localised flooding, but even away from the rain warning, we could even see some flooding with some heavy rain expected in most places as we head through tomorrow night. That rain whisks its way through. Could be thundery in nature, followed by some sharp and thundery showers during the early hours of Thursday morning. Gusts for coastal areas with that band of rain, maybe up to 60 miles per hour. Inland gusts 35 miles per hour, so blustery conditions during the course of the night, and showers to follow, a low of 7 to 8 degrees. Now, it's a quieter day on Thursday. The rain moves away, low pressure still in charge. We'll have a westerly breeze, so quite a brisk breeze blowing. Along the south coast and for the Isle of Wight, we could see the odd sharp and thundery shower during the course of the day. So it's going to be quite blustery through the day tomorrow with that heavy rain, that Met Office warning, the odd shower on Thursday. Friday should be drier, and a frost Friday night. Sally.
Thanks very much, Alexis. Don't forget the Cost of Living special programme tomorrow. Join the South Today team at 6:30. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.